Thank you very much, Bob. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Good evening to all of you, and I'd like to sincerely apologize. I really want to be physically present with you this evening. At least technology allows us to communicate in this way. I wanted to be physically present because I want to say a very big thank you to Symphonia and to Louise in particular for the passion, the intensity, and the work that you do. I just want to position myself briefly relative to people who've spoken before, Velda, Mark, Andy, and Baya. Thank you very much for the way in which you cast the story this evening. I want to physically position myself. I went to school just down the road from Dryden Street. So when you talk of Salt River, I know the area like the back of my hand. And for the record, Bayar and I went to school together, and the school didn't produce only people with hairstyles like ours. And I think it's part of what we need to do is plow back to society in a way that we can. I want to start by applauding the work of the partnership and recognize that I have the responsibility to keep inviting people in to that partnership, and I'm talking now of the people from the private sector who need to become part of this with humility, but apply their skills and energy in a way that can make a difference. For the reason that without education we will not achieve anything. Just about 2 weeks ago, I had the opportunity to address the Association for the Advancement of Black Accountants in South Africa, BASA, in Bloemfontein, and the gist of my speech was actually on education and the national development plan. And I want to lift the trends that I used in that speech. And the first was to say to these black accountants that they include the most privileged South Africans because as a group, black professionals in South Africa have been the major beneficiaries of the democratic order. And for that reason, if for no other, they have the responsibility to plow back. I set 4 tasks that I'd like them to follow up, and I'm raising it not because it's exclusively a BASA issue, but I think that we must be talking to all South Africans in this way. The first was to use the example of Symphonia and to ask them to plow back into schools by availing their time and resources to commit to helping principals. The story that I told them was that in many instances, principals have moved into that position from the chalkboard, frequently as the most competent teachers, and frequently because it is one way of earning a little bit more than what they would at the chalkboard. But the skills required to manage a class of 40, 50, and be a communicator of lessons is not the same as the skills required to manage a large, complex institution that may have 1,000 to 1,500 learners, staff of 40, and a community that doesn't always understand. Over and above that, working with departments, district, and circuit offices that could be quite difficult. And part of our responsibility is to ensure that our principals are equipped with the skills that allow them to manage institutions better. And so that's the first task I set to them. The second is that we must all get involved in supporting the development of school governing bodies. And the reason for that is that where schools are accountable to communities, they tend to function better. There's a big divide between well-functioning schools, frequently in leafy suburbs, and schools in townships and in rural areas where school governing bodies frequently don't exist. We've got to up the ante, find those schools in need, and ensure that apart from competent principals, supported in that environment, they also have school governing bodies that function. The third task I set for them was that all of them, as accountants, must have excelled in maths and science somewhere in their life. And it's very important that we inculcate the learning and teaching quantitative skills, and they have responsibility to do that, albeit over the weekends. They can accelerate their own learning because there's so much available through IT. I've seen for high schools the math syllabus broken down on Khan Academy on a website called numeric.org. I've seen the same for the physics or physical science syllabus on a website called plato.org. It's for educators, but it will allow them to help in areas of need. And the fourth task, and this would be in line with what Mr. Latu just said, many of them are in corporate or close to corporate and should be able to mobilize resources, frequently from willing donors to areas of need, so that we don't use our resources to entrench those who are already powerful, but we use them to identify the areas of need. Those are the four tasks I said. The speech is available on the presidency website so that you know that even when I'm not talking to you as I am this evening, I am in your corner and I'll fight that battle because it's fundamental that we recognize the importance of education in our transformation agenda. In respect of the National Development Plan, what we've done is to take forward the values of our Constitution. But the values of our Constitution are just values of the Constitution. They need to be given life, they need to be given energy, and the agency for giving that energy is people who are committed, determined, and willing to share in the effort to drive change, because change is a continuum, and change can be measured in the lives of people who need it most. And so the National Development Plan is in fact that call to action, because in our articulation of what the MVP is, it is about government, but it is about the nation, and it is something that must involve every South African. And the more skilled people we have, capable of applying their skills and replicating those skills, the better our chances of delivering a better quality of life for everybody. So the big change that the National Development Plan speaks of is, in fact, a call for active citizens. Fundamentally important that citizens be active, and that people take up leadership initiatives, and that leadership is not something about people who sit in government, it's about all of society. And the presentations I've heard this evening from Mark and Valda and from Bayar and Andy speak to that kind of leadership. What I observe in Partnership for Possibility is taking up both the active citizenship and leadership. And one of the positive outcomes of this has to be government that's more responsive and more effective. Now, we need to be working a lot harder. And the reason for this is that in that wonderful graphic of Partnership for Possibility that we all saw earlier, the numbers are clear. We lose too many young people along the way. And so the indicator used is the grade 12 pass rate. Now that's an interesting indicator. It's a good indicator of something. But if we disaggregate that a bit, we drill down a few more layers, then we begin to understand exactly what the problem is. And the big problem that confronts us is that the quality of passes leaves so much to be desired. I want to be perfectly blunt about this. The quality of passes, especially in mathematics and science, still has a big race and class dimension. And so part of what we're doing is cutting people out of options for the future. And our responsibility is, in fact, to drive an agenda for change. Of course, it's not something that starts in grade 12, because those foundations are laid at primary schools. They're laid at Dryden Street, right there where Mr. Latu is working. Because if we don't lay the foundation for cognitive development in quantitative skills right there, The people that are picked up at Eastfield High and other similar schools just don't have the equipment to be able to learn because somewhere along the line teachers turn out the lights. Now, I don't only look at grade 12 results, I have a very keen interest in the annual national assessment, grade 3, 6, and 9, and perhaps Cameron Dugmore will tell you about the kinds of things I do, because the indicators I pick up there are fundamentally important. I looked at the ANA results. I was in Bonteheuvel recently, and I looked at Bonteheuvel and surrounding areas, so I included Langa, Hagerstown, and Allen Park, to try and understand what the patterns are. When I looked at grade 9 maths from last year's results, I was horrified. The outlier school had 22% pass, but that was the outlier. The average for the remaining schools was 9.9%. So if we wait for grade 12, we've waited for too long. We have to get the interventions there. We must support the principals. Now, I would imagine, without seeing your face, I would imagine that those who gathered at Grove this evening are the good people. Those who are committed, determined, and dedicated teachers who want to be part of the transformation agenda. And part of what we have to do through Partnership and Possibility is, in fact, to drive an opportunity so that the examples are built in every community, so that those schools that aren't yet led by people who are committed and dedicated as you are, will understand that they should be shamed by their lack of action and commitment. It's a fundamentally important equation. There's an equation that we must drive for success, and I'd like to support the initiative, and to the extent possible, I'd like to be part of it. We're not now at a stage of continually diagnosing the problem and wringing our hands. What Partnership for Possibility presents to us is how change happens, and that's what we must take forward. That's the kind of role models we have to generalize on. We have to push for new pedagogy, one that is supported, contextualized, and accountable. That's what South Africa needs. That's where change will come from. The methodology is what we put into the pot and the graphics in the partnership video earlier. Spell that out sufficiently clearly. Even a dumb guy like me can understand exactly what it's about. And so we need to drive an agenda for ownership. The more our principals own education, the more the staff will respond. The better the staff and principals are equipped to do it, the better the learners are, the more accountable the school will be to the community, because it is an act of engagement and an act of pride, that statement of accountability. So I want to end by pleading with you, make it happen. We must do a lot more for successive generations. I know, and I won't allow Mr. Latu to tell you who he is, but I was saved by competent teachers and a very competent principal. And what you're doing, that same system forward. So thank you very, very much, Mr.